20 heartbeats. That's what I counted in the back of the van, pressed against cold metal and colder fear. 20 tiny hearts still fighting in a world that had already decided they didn't deserve to exist. The letter in my coat pocket said, Extinction Protocol. The council called it Humane Population Control. I called it what it was, murder dressed up in paperwork, and I had until sunrise to make sure it never happened. The fluorescent lights in the Crescent Moon Pack infirmary hallway buzzed like angry wasps. I stood there still wearing my volunteer scrubs from the children's wing, while Alpha Dominic Ashford, my fated mate, the man whose scent had once made my knees weak, looked at me like I was a stain on his expensive shoes. "You're Barren, Eli." He said it the way someone might mention the weather. Casual, final. I felt my fingers curl into my palms. The test could be wrong. It's not. His jaw tightened, and for half a second I thought I saw something that looked like regret. But then Vanessa Chen stepped into view, her hand sliding possessively around his arm, and whatever softness I'd imagined vanished. "I need heirs. The pack needs heirs. You can't give me that." Vanessa smiled. It was the kind of smile that drew blood without breaking skin. "It's nothing personal," she added, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "You're just not built for this life." Not built for this life? I'd spent 3 years organizing every pack event, managing the orphan pups no one else wanted to deal with, making sure Dominic looked like a competent leader while he glad-handed politicians and forgot half his own members' names. But sure, not built for it. "So that's it?" I kept my voice steady, even though my chest felt like it was caving in. 3 years and you're just done? "I'm doing you a favor." Dominic's tone shifted, taking on that alpha command, edge that made weaker wolves drop their eyes. "You'll move to the basement quarters by tonight. I'll make sure you're taken care of." "Taken care of?" I laughed, and it came out sharper than I meant. "Like a pet you're rehoming?" His expression hardened. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." "Oh, I wouldn't dream of it, Alpha." I gave the title just enough bite to make Vanessa's smile falter. "I'll be out by sunset." I turned and walked away before either of them could see my hands shaking. I didn't go to the basement quarters. I went to the archives. It was a habit I'd picked up during my time as Dominic's partner, checking records, cross-referencing requests, making sure nothing slipped through the cracks. The pack accountant, Mary Nguyen, had always joked that I should have been the one running operations instead of warming the Alpha's bed. Turns out she was right. The memo was buried in a stack of routine reports marked with the crescent moon seal and dated for tonight. My eyes scanned the page once, twice, my brain refusing to process what I was reading. Confidential. Bloodline extinction. Protocol. Authorized cull of Frost Valley orphan population, 20 individuals ages 3 to 9, to proceed at 0400 hours. Transportation to Northern Waste Disposal Site. Suppressant doses administered. 0 survivors. My stomach turned to ice. Frost Valley. That was the pack that had been wiped out 5 years ago in a rogue attack. Everyone knew the story. Wild wolves, bad timing, tragic but unavoidable. Except it wasn't rogues. It was the council. And now they were finishing what they started. I read the names listed at the bottom. Kids I knew. Kids I'd sung to sleep when they had nightmares. Kids who still believed someone would come for them. 20 names, 20 heartbeats. My fingers tightened on the paper, crinkling the edges. Dominic's signature sat at the bottom right next to the council chairman's. Of course he knew. Of course he'd signed off on it. I thought about Vanessa's smile, about the way Dominic had looked at me like I was disposable, and I realized something that should have been obvious from the start. I wasn't the one who wasn't built for this life. They were the ones who'd never deserved to lead it. I didn't have time to be heartbroken. I didn't have time to collapse in the bathroom and cry until my ribs ached. I had 4 hours. I folded the memo, shoved it in my jacket, and ran. The orphanage sat on the edge of packed territory, a squat brick building that looked like it had been forgotten on purpose. I slipped in through the back door, still had my clearance key card, thank God, and moved through the darkened halls like a ghost. The kids were already sedated. I could smell the suppressants in the air, thick and chemical. My stomach twisted, but I kept moving, checking each room, counting. Heads 20, all of them breathing, but barely. I grabbed blankets from the supply closet, found the van keys hanging in the staff office, stole 3 emergency kits from the med bay, and stuffed them in a duffel bag. Then I started loading kids. One by one, I carried them out. Some of them stirred, mumbling in their sleep. A little girl named Rosie curled her fingers into my shirt and whispered, "Eli." "Shh," I murmured, brushing her hair back. "I've got you." It took 30 minutes to get all 20 into the van. 30 minutes of my heart slamming against my ribs, waiting for headlights to sweep the parking lot or for Dominic's enforcers to come crashing through the door. But no one came. No one ever came for these kids. Until now. I climbed into the driver's seat, hands shaking so hard I almost dropped the keys. The engine turned over with a cough, and I threw the van into gear. Behind me, 20 small bodies lay bundled in blankets, their breaths shallow and synchronized. In front of me, the road stretched north toward the border, toward Obsidian Ridge territory, toward the only pack powerful enough to tell the council to go to hell. I pressed the gas pedal down and didn't look back. The clock on the dashboard read 12:47 a.m., 3 hours and 13 minutes until sunrise. The highway was empty, just me, the hum of worn-out tires on asphalt, and 20 kids who trusted me not to get them killed. No pressure. I kept my eyes on the road, both hands locked on the wheel like it might try to escape if I loosened my grip. The van's heater wheezed out lukewarm air that smelled faintly of rust and old fast food. Behind me, someone whimpered in their sleep. My chest tightened. Keep moving. Just keep moving. The GPS on my phone showed the border to Obsidian Ridge territory in 43 miles. 43 miles between these kids and safety. 43 miles between me and either salvation or the dumbest decision I'd ever made. Probably both. I reached for the thermos of coffee I'd grabbed from the orphanage break room and took a swig. Cold. Bitter. Perfect. The road curved ahead, cutting through dense pine forest on both sides. Snowflakes started hitting the windshield, lazy at first, then faster. Within minutes, the world outside turned into a swirling white nightmare. "Of course," I muttered, flipping the wipers to full speed. Because why would anything be easy? The van skidded slightly on a patch of ice and my heart jumped into my throat. I eased off the gas, white-knuckling the wheel as the tires found traction again. "Breathe, Eli. Breathe." A sign flickered past in the storm. Obsidian Ridge border. 12 miles. 12 miles. I could do 12 miles. Then the headlights appeared in my rearview mirror. At first, I thought I was imagining it. Just paranoia and exhaustion playing tricks. But no, there they were, cutting through the snow like twin spotlights, closing the gap between us faster than they should have been. My stomach dropped. Shit! I pressed the gas pedal harder. The van groaned in protest, the speedometer needle creeping up to 60, then 65. The forest blurred past, shadows and white streaks bleeding together. The headlights got closer. Whoever was behind me wasn't trying to pass. They were hunting. I grabbed my phone with one hand, nearly dropping it as the van hit another rough patch. My thumb hovered over the emergency contact I'd saved months ago. One I'd never actually used because calling the Obsidian Ridge Alpha line felt like poking a sleeping dragon. But desperate times. I hit dial. It rang once, twice. A voice answered, deep and smooth, with the kind of authority that didn't need to be loud. "Obsidian Ridge Alpha line. Identify yourself." "My name is Eli Parker," I said, voice shaking more than I wanted. "I'm 12 miles from your border, with 20 Frost Valley, orphans in my van, and someone's chasing me." Silence, then, "Frost Valley?" "Yes, the council's trying to—" I swerved to avoid a fallen branch, and the phone nearly flew out of my hand. "Look, I don't have time to explain. I just need asylum, please." Another pause, longer this time. I could hear muffled voices in the background, sharp and clipped. Then the same voice came back. "Hold your course. We're sending units to intercept. Do not stop. Do you understand?" Yes, I understand. What's your vehicle description? White van, crescent moon pack plates, and it drives like a dying lawnmower so you can't miss it. I thought I heard the faintest huff of amusement before the line went dead. Great. I just made a joke to one of the most powerful packs on the eastern seaboard while running for my life. Real smooth, Eli. The headlights behind me flared brighter. Then I heard it, the low growl of an engine revving, followed by the sharp crack of something hitting the back of the van. I jerked forward, slamming against the seatbelt. One of the kids cried out. "It's okay," I shouted, even though it absolutely wasn't. "Just hold on." Another hit, harder this time. The van fishtailed, tires screaming as I fought to keep control. My vision blurred with panic and adrenaline, every instinct screaming at me to pull over, to stop, to surrender. But I didn't, because surrender meant watching those 20 heartbeats stop. And I wasn't doing that. Not tonight. Not ever. The forest broke open ahead, revealing a stretch of empty road and a single wooden sign half buried in snow. Obsidian Ridge territory. Authorized entry only. I crossed it doing 70, and that's when I smelled it. Pine, smoke, something dark and electric, like ozone before a lightning strike. It hit me so hard I almost let go of the wheel. My whole body went rigid, my skin flushed hot, then cold, then hot again. The air in the van thickened, pressing against my ribs like a living thing. What the hell? I'd never reacted to a scent like this before. Not even Dominic's, back when I still thought we had a future. This was different. This was wrong. Or maybe it was the only thing that had ever been right and I just didn't know it yet. The headlights behind me suddenly veered off, tires screeching as the vehicle spun out and disappeared into the trees. In front of me, three black SUVs materialized out of the storm like ghosts, boxing in the road. They moved in perfect formation, sleek and predatory, their headlights cutting through the snow. I slammed on the brakes. The van skidded, sliding sideways before finally shuddering to a stop 10 feet from the lead SUV. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. The driver's side door of the lead vehicle opened and someone stepped out. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving with the kind of confidence that didn't need to announce itself. He walked toward me slowly, snow catching in his dark hair, his eyes locked on mine through the windshield. And that scent, God, that scent, wrapped around me like a fist. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything except sit there and watch him approach, every nerve in my body screaming at me to run and stay at the same time. He stopped at my window and tapped twice with his knuckles. I rolled it down halfway, just enough to meet his eyes. They were storm gray, sharp, unreadable. "Eli Parker?" His voice was the same one from the phone. Smooth, controlled, the kind of voice that could command armies or start wars. I swallowed hard. "Yeah, that's me." His gaze flicked to the back of the van, then back to me. "You crossed into Obsidian Ridge with stolen children and a pack of enforcers on your tail." "Technically, I rescued stolen children," I corrected, because apparently my mouth had a death wish. "There's a difference." One dark eyebrow lifted. For a second, I thought he might smile. He didn't. "Get out of the van." It wasn't a request. I hesitated, fingers still gripping the wheel. "The kids will be taken care of." His tone softened, just barely. "You have my word." I didn't know this man, didn't know his pack, didn't know anything except that crossing this border had been a gamble, and I'd just thrown my entire hand on the table. But those 20 heartbeats were still steady behind me, and that had to be enough. I killed the engine, opened the door, and stepped out into the snow. The cold hit me immediately, but it was nothing compared to the heat radiating off the Alpha standing 2 feet away. He studied me for a long moment, eyes tracking over my face like he was cataloging every detail. Then his nostrils flared, and something in his expression shifted. "You're Omega," he said quietly. "Yeah, thanks for the news flash." I crossed my arms, partly for warmth, partly because I didn't know what else to do with them. "Is that a problem?" His jaw tightened. "No." But the way he said it, low, almost strained, made me think it absolutely was. He took a step closer. I took a step back. "Easy," he murmured, hands lifting slightly in a gesture that might have been calming if my pulse wasn't currently trying to break the sound barrier. I'm not going to hurt you. Good to know. My voice came out steadier than I felt. But you're standing really close, and I've had a long night, so maybe we could skip the whole intimidation routine? This time he did smile. Just a flicker. Gone before I could be sure it was real. Fair enough. He stepped back, giving me space I hadn't realized I desperately needed. My name is Callan Gray. I'm second of the Obsidian Ridge pack. Second, not alpha, which meant the actual alphas, the triplets everyone whispered, about were somewhere nearby. Perfect. Nice to meet you, Callan, I said, trying to keep my teeth from chattering. Now can we please get these kids inside before we all freeze to death? He nodded once, then turned and gestured to the others. Transport the children to the main house. Medical team on standby, and someone get Parker a coat before he passes out. One of the enforcers jogged over and draped a heavy jacket over my shoulders. It smelled like pine and smoke, like him. I pulled it tighter, hating how good it felt. Callan's eyes tracked the movement, something unreadable flickering across his face. Then he turned and started walking toward the lead SUV. Come on, you're riding with me. Why? He glanced back over his shoulder. Because the alphas want to meet you. My stomach flipped. Now? Now! I didn't move. The alphas, I repeated slowly, like maybe I'd misheard. As in, the triplet alphas who reportedly made a rival pack disappear just by showing up at their border? Callan's mouth twitched. Those would be the ones. And they want to meet me, right now. I glanced at the dashboard clock in the van. 2 a.m. Technically 1:53. Oh, well, that makes it so much better. I hugged the jacket tighter, suddenly aware of how badly I was shaking, and it wasn't from the cold anymore. What if I say no? He turned fully to face me, and for the first time I caught something that almost looked like sympathy in those gray eyes. Then I'd have to insist. Politely. Right. Politely. I glanced back at the van, where enforcers were carefully lifting sleeping children into warm vehicles. Rosie's tiny hand dangled from beneath a blanket as someone cradled her. My throat closed. The kids will be safe, warm, fed, examined by our pack doctor. Callan's voice softened. You have my word, Eli. The way he said my name, low and careful, made something in my chest twist sideways. I hated it. Hated how much I wanted to believe him. Fine. I pushed past him toward the SUV, ignoring the way my legs felt like jelly. But if your alphas try anything, I'm going to be extremely annoying about it. Behind me, I heard that almost laugh again. Somehow, I don't doubt that. The interior of the SUV smelled like leather and that same pine smoke scent that had nearly knocked me sideways earlier. I climbed into the passenger seat and immediately regretted every choice that had led me here. Callan slid behind the wheel with the kind of grace that should have been illegal. He started the engine, and warm air blasted from the vents. I pressed my frozen fingers against the heating vent and tried not to visibly melt. There's coffee in the console, he said, eyes on the road as we pulled away from the border checkpoint. I grabbed the thermos without asking twice. The first sip burned my tongue, but I didn't care. It was hot and bitter and exactly what I needed. Thank you. Don't mention it. We drove in silence for maybe 30 seconds before my brain caught up with my mouth. So what's the protocol here? I asked, staring out at the snow-covered pines flashing past. Do I bow, bare my neck, pretend I'm not terrified? You're not terrified. I turned to look at him. Excuse me? You're sent. He kept his eyes forward, but his jaw tightened. Fear smells different. You're not afraid. You're angry. Well, shit. Maybe I'm both, I muttered into the thermos. Maybe. He took a turn onto a smaller road, the SUV handling the ice like it was barely there. But anger looks better on you. My brain short-circuited. Did he just... I opened my mouth, closed it, tried again. Are you flirting with me? No, because it kind of sounded like you were flirting with me. I wasn't. Right. I took another sip of coffee, mostly to give my hand something to do. Good, because that would be weird, since we just met, and I'm currently in the middle of a crisis. Agreed. And you're technically escorting me to what might be an interrogation. Also true. So definitely not flirting. Definitely not. His mouth curved. Just barely. Just enough to make my stupid heart stutter. I looked away, heat crawling up my neck. Where are we going anyway? The main house, it's another 10 minutes. 10 minutes. 10 minutes until I had to face three of the most powerful alphas on the eastern seaboard and explain why I just crashed their border with 20 kids in a stolen van. No big deal, totally fine. I was absolutely not spiraling. Can I ask you something? The words tumbled out before I could stop them. Callan glanced at me. Go ahead. Why did you help me? His hands flexed on the steering wheel. You called for asylum. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got right now. I studied his profile, the strong line of his jaw, the way his eyes stayed carefully neutral. He was good at hiding whatever he was thinking. Too good. You don't trust easily, I said quietly. Neither do you. Fair. I turned back to the window, watching the trees blur into shadows. The kids I brought, they're Frost Valley bloodline. I know. The council wanted them dead. I know that too. And you're still helping me. He was quiet for a long moment, then so softly I almost didn't hear it. Frost Valley didn't fall to rogues. My breath caught. He knew. No, I whispered. They didn't. The council's been cleaning up loose ends for years. His voice went hard, sharp enough to cut. We've suspected, but we've never had proof. I pulled the crumpled memo from my jacket pocket and held it up. Now you do. Callan's eyes flicked to the paper, then back to the road. Something dangerous moved behind his expression. The alphas are going to want to see that. That's why I'm here. No. He pulled onto a long driveway lined with iron gates. That's not why you're here. Before I could ask what the hell that meant, the house came into view. And house was a generous term. It was a mansion, stone and glass and sharp angles, lit from within like something out of a magazine. Elegant, imposing. The kind of place that made you feel small just looking at it. Oh, I said faintly. Great. Nothing intimidating about this at all. Callan parked near the front steps and killed the engine. He turned to face me, and the intensity in his gaze made my pulse skip. Listen to me carefully, I straightened. I'm listening. The alphas are going to test you, push you, try to see what you're made of. His eyes searched mine. Don't back down. I wasn't planning on it. Good. He reached out, fingers brushing my wrist so briefly I might have imagined it. And Eli? Yeah? Whatever happens in there, his jaw tightened. Don't lie to them. They'll know. A shiver ran down my spine that had nothing to do with the cold. Got it. No lying to the terrifying triplet alphas. I grabbed the door handle. Anything else I should know? Secret handshake? Blood oath? Just be yourself. That's the worst advice I've ever gotten. He smiled then. A real one. Small and fleeting, but real. You'll be fine. I wanted to believe him. I really did. But as I stepped out of the SUV and looked up at the massive double doors waiting at the top of the stone steps, all I could think was that I'd just traded one nightmare for another. And this time, there was no running away. The doors opened before we reached them. Woman stood in the doorway, tall and composed, her dark hair pulled into a neat bun. She wore a crisp white shirt and slacks, and her expression was the definition of professional courtesy. Mr. Parker, she said smoothly, welcome to Obsidian Ridge. The alphas are waiting for you in the study. Of course they are, I muttered. Callan shot me a look that might have been amusement or warning, possibly both. We followed her inside, and I tried not to gawk at the interior. Hardwood floors, vaulted ceilings, art that probably cost more than my entire existence. This wasn't a pack house. This was a fortress wrapped in luxury. We climbed a curved staircase, turned down a hallway, lined with portraits of stern-looking wolves, and finally stopped in front of a set of carved wooden doors. The woman knocked twice. Sirs, Mr. Parker is here. A voice answered from inside. Deep, commanding. The kind of voice that made you want to obey before you even knew what the order was. Send him in. She opened the door and stepped aside. Callan gave me one last look, something unreadable flickering in his eyes. Then he nodded toward the entrance. Go ahead. You're not coming? They asked for you, not me. Fantastic. I took a breath, squared my shoulders, and walked through the door. The study was all dark wood and leather, floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, and a fireplace crackling in the corner. It should have felt warm. It didn't, because standing near the massive oak desk in the center of the room were three men who made every instinct in my body scream, run. They were identical, same height, same sharp features, same predatory stillness, but their eyes were different. The one on the left had eyes like molten gold, burning with an intensity that made my skin prickle. The one in the middle had ice blue eyes, cold and assessing, like he could see straight through me. And the one on the right had green eyes, softer than the others but no less dangerous. They watched me step into the room with the patience of wolves who knew the prey had nowhere left to go. The one in the middle spoke first. Eli Parker. His voice was smooth, controlled. You've had quite a night. I swallowed hard. You could say that. Sit. It wasn't a suggestion. I sat. The one with gold eyes circled around behind me, slow and deliberate. I forced myself not to turn, not to track his movement, even though every nerve screamed at me to keep him in sight. You brought 20 Frost Valley orphans across our border, Gold Eyes said from somewhere behind my left shoulder. Stolen from Crescent Moon territory, pursued by enforcers. He leaned down, voice dropping to a dangerous purr. Why? Because they were going to die. That's not an answer, Green Eyes said from his position by the fireplace. His tone was gentler, but the weight behind it was just as heavy. That's a reaction. I clenched my hands in my lap. The council ordered a cull, extinction protocol. I found the memo, and I couldn't. My voice cracked. I hated it. I couldn't let it happen. Blue Eyes, still standing behind the desk, tilted his head. So you committed theft, trespassing, and endangered yourself for children who aren't your responsibility. They're kids. That makes them everyone's responsibility. Gold Eyes laughed, low and dark. Brave little Omega. I'm not little, I shot back before I could stop myself, and bravery had nothing to do with it. Silence. The air in the room thickened, pressing against my ribs like a physical thing. Then Blue Eyes smiled. It wasn't comforting. What's your name, Omega? You already know my name. Your full name. I hesitated. Elias Frost Parker. All three of them went still. Frost, Green Eyes repeated softly, as in Frost Valley. Oh. Oh no. My mother was from there, I admitted. She got out before the massacre. Barely. Gold Eyes moved back into my line of sight, crouching in front of me until we were eye level. Up close, he was devastating. Sharp jaw, full mouth, eyes that burned. And you're Barren. It wasn't a question. That's what the test said. But you don't believe them. I met his gaze and refused to flinch. I don't know what I believe anymore. He studied me for a long, heavy moment. Then he reached out and tilted my chin up with two fingers, scenting the air near my throat. Every muscle in my body locked. Interesting, he murmured. What's interesting? My voice came out embarrassingly breathless. He didn't answer. Just stood and looked at his brothers. Some silent conversation happened between them, a language I couldn't read. Finally, Blue Eyes spoke. You'll stay here, under our protection. Relief flooded through me. Thank you. You don't thank us yet. His smile turned sharp. Protection comes with conditions. Of course it did. What kind of conditions? Green Eyes pushed off from the fireplace and crossed to stand beside his brothers. 3 predators, 1 target. You belong to us now, he said simply. My heart stopped. Excuse me? You crossed into our territory seeking asylum, Blue Eyes continued. We've granted it, but that makes you ours to protect, ours to shelter. His eyes glinted. Ours to keep. I didn't agree to that. You did, Gold Eyes said. The moment you crossed the border. I stood, fists clenched. I came here for the kids, not for whatever this is. The kids are safe, Green Eyes said gently. But so are you. whether you like it or not. I stared at them, pulse hammering. You can't just claim someone. Blue Eyes moved around the desk in 2 strides and stopped inches from me, crowding my space, without touching. We just did. Heat flooded my face, anger, panic, something I didn't have a name for. This is insane. Yes, he agreed, it is. Then he leaned in, close enough that his breath ghosted across my temple, and whispered, "Welcome home, Elias." I stepped back. He didn't follow, just watched me with those ice blue eyes like he was waiting to see what I'd do next. Like this was a test I hadn't studied for. "Home," I repeated, voice shaking. "You think you can just declare someone your property and call it home? Not property." Green Eyes moved closer, his presence somehow softer than his brother's, but no less suffocating. "Family." I laughed. It came out sharp and bitter. "I don't even know your names." "Ashton." Blue Eyes gestured to himself, then to his brothers. "Kieran." Gold Eyes. "And Wyatt." Green Eyes. "Great. Now we're all introduced. Doesn't change the fact that I didn't ask for this." "No," Ashton agreed. "You asked for asylum. We're giving you more." "I don't want more." Kieran circled behind me again, and this time I did turn, refusing to give him my back. His mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Liar. I'm not." "Your scent spikes every time one of us gets close." He took a step forward. I took one back. "Your pulse races. Your pupils dilate. You can lie with your words all you want, Elias. Your body's already telling us the truth." Heat flooded my face. "That's just biology. Doesn't mean anything." "Doesn't it?" I opened my mouth to argue, but Wyatt cut in, his voice gentle. "You're exhausted, scared, running on adrenaline and bad coffee." He gestured to the door. "At least let us give you a room, a shower, food. Then we can argue about semantics." I hated how reasonable that sounded. Hated how much I wanted to say yes. "The kids," I said instead. "I want to see them first." Ashton's expression softened, just barely. "They're asleep, warm, safe. Our doctor checked every one of them. No injuries beyond mild dehydration and sedative after effects." Something in my chest loosened. "And they'll stay that way? Safe, I mean?" "You have our word." I studied his face, searching for the lie. But all I found was steady certainty and something that looked almost like respect. "Fine," I said finally. "One night. Then we talk about this, whatever this is." "Deal." Wyatt moved to the door and opened it. Callan stood on the other side, arms crossed, looking like he'd been waiting there the whole time. "Cal will show you to your room." Our eyes met. His expression was unreadable, but something in his posture had changed. Tension, awareness. Like he knew exactly what had just happened in that study. "Come on," he said quietly. I followed him out, hyper-aware of 3 sets of eyes tracking my every step until the door closed behind us. The hallway felt colder than before, or maybe that was just my nerves finally catching up. Callan led me down another corridor, past more stern-faced portraits and expensive art I couldn't name. Our footsteps echoed on the hardwood, the only sound besides my uneven breathing. "So," I said because silence felt worse. "That was fun." He glanced at me. "You handled it better than most." Most people don't get the "welcome home" speech from triplet alphas who look like they could bench press a truck. True. We turned another corner. The lighting here was softer, warmer, more lived in. "Can I ask you something?" Callan stopped in front of a door near the end of the hall. "You're going to anyway." "Fair. What did Ashton mean when he said protection comes with conditions?" His jaw tightened. "Exactly what you think." "That's not helpful." "It's the truth." He opened the door and gestured inside. "This is you." I peered into the room and my brain short-circuited. It was huge. King-size bed with a ridiculous number of pillows. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking what I assumed was the forest, though all I could see was darkness and falling snow. A door on the left that probably led to a bathroom. Plush carpet, soft lighting. This wasn't a guest room. This was a suite. "You've got to be kidding me." "Bathroom's through there. Clothes in the closet should fit." Food in the mini fridge if you're hungry. Callan leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Anything else you need? An explanation would be nice. Not my place to give one. Of course not. I stepped inside, then turned back to face him. Why are you helping me? His eyes darkened. Because you did the right thing. Not enough people do anymore. That's it. That's enough. We stared at each other for a long moment, and I swore I felt that pull again. The same electric current that had hit me at the border. Weaker now, but still there. Still impossible to ignore. He felt it too. I could tell by the way his hands flexed, the way his breathing changed. Get some rest, Eli. His voice dropped, rough around the edges. You're safe here. Then he left, closing the door softly behind him. I stood there for a full minute, heart pounding, trying to process everything that had just happened. Failed spectacularly. Instead, I kicked off my boots, shed the borrowed jacket, and headed for the bathroom. The shower was a mistake. Not because it wasn't good, it was incredible. Hot water, decent water pressure, soap that actually smelled nice instead of like industrial cleaner. No, the mistake was that the second I stepped under the spray and closed my eyes, my brain decided to replay every moment from the last 4 hours. Dominic's face when he'd called me Barren. Vanessa's smile. The memo. 20 tiny heartbeats. Callan's scent wrapping around me like a drug. Ashton's whisper against my temple. Welcome home. I pressed my forehead against the tile and tried to breathe through the knot in my chest. What the hell was I doing? I'd run from one alpha who didn't want me straight into the arms of 3 who claimed they did. And I didn't even know them. Didn't know what they wanted. Didn't know if I could trust them. But God help me, I wanted to. That was the worst part. I wanted to believe Ashton's promise. Wanted to believe Wyatt's gentleness. Wanted to believe Kieran's intensity wasn't just a game. I wanted to believe Callan when he said I was safe, which meant I was either desperate or stupid. Probably both. I turned off the water, dried off with a towel that was softer than anything I'd owned in years, and wrapped it around my waist. The closet Callan had mentioned turned out to be a walk-in, stocked with clothes that looked brand new. Sweatpants, t-shirts, hoodies, all in dark neutral colors, all exactly my size. How the hell did they know my size? I grabbed a pair of sweatpants and a long-sleeve shirt, got dressed, and was halfway to the bed when I heard it. A knock. Soft. Hesitant. I froze. Eli? Wyatt's voice muffled by the door. You awake? I thought about pretending I wasn't. Thought about ignoring him and going to bed. But my mouth had other ideas. Yeah, come in. The door opened slowly and Wyatt stepped inside carrying a tray. Steam rose from whatever was on it, and my stomach immediately betrayed me by growling. He smiled. Thought you might be hungry. I'm fine. You're a terrible liar. He set the tray on the desk near the window. Soup. Bread. Something that looked like tea. Eat. Please. I wanted to argue, but the soup smelled incredible, and I couldn't remember the last time I'd eaten anything that wasn't vending machine junk or cold coffee. Thank you, I said quietly, moving to the desk. He pulled out the chair for me. I sat, hyper-aware of how close he was standing, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off him, close enough to catch that scent again. Pine, smoke, something uniquely him underneath it all. I picked up the spoon and focused on the soup instead of the way my hands were shaking. Chicken noodle, he said, settling into the chair across from me. Nothing fancy, but it's warm. I took a bite, nearly moaned. It was perfect. Rich and savory, with actual chunks of chicken and vegetables that hadn't come from a can. This is amazing, Amar admitted. Cal made it. He's the cook in the family. Wyatt's smile widened. Don't tell him I told you, though. He pretends he doesn't care. I swallowed another spoonful, already feeling warmth spread through my chest. Your secret's safe with me. We sat in comfortable silence while I ate. Or at least it should have been comfortable. Instead, I was hyper-aware of every move he made. The way he leaned back in the chair, all casual grace. The way his eyes tracked over my face like he was memorizing every detail. You're staring, I said finally. So are you. I'm eating. You're doing both. Damn it. I set down the spoon and met his gaze head on. Why are you really here, Wyatt? His expression shifted, the easy warmth fading into something more serious. Because my brothers can be intense, and I wanted to make sure you were okay. I'm fine. You're not. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. You've been through hell tonight, Eli. It's okay to admit that. My throat tightened. Admitting it doesn't change anything. No, but it makes it easier to carry. I looked away, blinking hard. I don't need you to take care of me. I know. His voice went soft, gentle. But what if I want to? Anyway, the words hit me harder than they should have. I stood abruptly, putting distance between us. You don't even know me. Then let me. Why? I spun back to face him. Why do you care? Why do any of you care? I'm just some random Omega who crashed your border with a bunch of kids in a stolen van. Wyatt stood too, closing the distance I'd just created. You're not random. You don't know that. Yes, he said quietly. I do. He reached out slowly, giving me every chance to pull away. His fingers brushed my wrist, feather light, and I felt that electric current again, stronger this time, undeniable. My breath caught. You feel it too, he murmured. Don't you? I wanted to lie, wanted to pull away and tell him he was wrong, but I was so tired of lying. Yeah, I whispered. I feel it. His eyes searched mine, then stopped fighting it. I don't know how. Start by staying. His thumb traced small circles on the inside of my wrist. Just for tonight. Just until morning. My pulse hammered under his touch. And then what? Then we figure it out. Together. I stared at him, this alpha I didn't know, who was looking at me like I was something precious instead of broken. And for the first time in years, I wanted to believe in something good. Okay, I breathed. Okay. His smile was devastating, soft and warm and real. Then he stepped back, releasing my wrist. Get some sleep, Eli. I'll be right next door if you need anything. Next door? We're not letting you out of our sight. His grin turned playful. Ashton's across the hall. Kieran's at the end. Cal's downstairs. You're surrounded. That's not comforting. It's not supposed to be. He moved to the door, paused, looked back. For what it's worth, I'm glad you're here. Then he was gone, and I was alone in a room that smelled like pine and smoke and safety I didn't trust yet. I climbed into bed, pulled the covers up, and stared at the ceiling. Sleep should have been impossible, but exhaustion dragged me under before I could overthink it. And for the first time in months, I didn't dream of rejection or blood or burning buildings. I dreamed of storm gray eyes and the scent of home. The dream shifted. Gray eyes became amber. The scent of pine twisted into antiseptic and old paper. I was standing in a hallway I recognized. Fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. My mother's hand gripping mine too tight. Don't let them see you cry, Elias. I was 7, maybe 8. Small enough that the council members towering over us looked like giants. The tests are conclusive, Miss Parker. The woman's voice was cold, clinical. Your son carries the Frost Valley bloodline, but his presentation is incomplete. Incomplete? My mother's voice shook. He's a child. He's barren. The word cut through the air like a blade. We've documented the genetic markers. He'll never produce viable offspring. For the integrity of the bloodline, he's my son, which is why we're offering relocation assistance instead of the alternative. The alternative. Even at 7, I knew what that meant. The dream twisted again, pulling me forward. 10 years old, 12, 15. Every presentation test ending the same way. Every doctor's appointment stamped with the same conclusion. Defective, barren, unviable. My mother's face getting thinner, harder, until the day she looked at me across the kitchen table and said, maybe they're right. Maybe you weren't meant to survive. She'd apologized later, cried, held me, promised she didn't mean it, but the words had already burrowed under my skin, and I'd spent every day since trying to prove I was worth the space I took up. I woke to darkness and the feeling of Someone watching me. My eyes snapped open. Kieran sat in the chair by the window, silhouetted against the glass, snowflakes still falling beyond. He didn't move, didn't speak, just watched me with those gold eyes that caught the dim light like a predator's. My heart slammed against my ribs. What the hell are you doing in here? You were dreaming? His voice was low, almost gentle. Crying. I touched my face. Wet. Shit. I sat up quickly, swiping at my cheeks. That doesn't give you the right to break into my room. I didn't break in. Door was unlocked. Still creepy. Probably. He tilted his head, studying me with that unnerving intensity. Want to talk about it? No. Liar. I pulled the blanket tighter around myself, suddenly aware of how thin the t-shirt was, how exposed I felt under his gaze. Why are you really here, Kieran? He was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood, moving with that same predatory grace, and crossed to sit on the edge of the bed, not touching, but close enough that I could feel the heat of him. Because I know what it's like, he said quietly, to wake up feeling like you're drowning. I didn't expect that. Didn't expect the raw honesty in his voice. You get nightmares? Everyone does. He glanced at me and something vulnerable flickered behind the gold. Some of us just hide it better. That's not reassuring. It's not supposed to be. His mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. I'm not Wyatt. I don't do comforting. Then what do you do? I tell the truth. He turned fully to face me, and the weight of his attention made it hard to breathe. You were dreaming about tests, medical evaluations, someone telling you that you weren't good enough. My chest tightened. How do you know that? Because you kept saying, I'm sorry, over and over. His eyes searched mine. Who were you apologizing to, Eli? I looked away. It doesn't matter. It does. Why do you care? Because you're ours now. He said it simply, like it was fact, like there was no other possibility. And that means your pain is ours too. The words should have felt possessive, should have made me angry. Instead, they cracked something open inside my chest that I'd been keeping carefully locked. They told me I was defective. The confession spilled out before I could stop it. When I was a kid, the council ran tests on all the Frost Valley survivors, trying to figure out why the bloodline was dying. And I swallowed hard. I failed. Every test, every evaluation. They said I was the proof that the line should have gone extinct. Kieran went very still. How old were you? 7, the first time. Something dangerous moved across his face. And your mother? Tried to protect me for a while. My voice cracked. But eventually even she started to believe them. The silence stretched between us, heavy and suffocating. Then Kieran did something I didn't expect. He reached out and took my hand, not gentle like Wyatt's touch. This was firm, grounding, real. Listen to me carefully, he said, voice low and fierce. Whatever those tests said, whatever the council told you, it was bullshit. You understand? I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. The tests don't lie. Tests measure what they're designed to measure, nothing more. His grip tightened. They can't measure strength, or courage, or the fact that you dragged 20 kids through a blizzard because it was the right thing to do. That's not the same thing, isn't it? He leaned closer, and I could smell that intoxicating scent again. Smoke and something darker. You think biology determines worth? That's council propaganda, Eli. And you're smarter than that. You don't know me well enough to say that. Then prove me wrong. His eyes burned into mine. Stay. Let us know you. Let us show you that everything they told you was a lie. My pulse hammered. Why does it matter so much to you? Because I know what it's like to be told you're wrong. His jaw tightened. To be told that what you are isn't good enough, that you need to be fixed. I stared at him. What are you talking about? He looked away, something bitter twisting his expression. You think triplets are celebrated? We're an anomaly, a genetic mistake. Most triplet births don't survive past infancy, and the ones that do, he laughed, sharp and humorless. The council wanted to separate us, study us, figure out what went wrong. But you're alphas. Exactly. He turned back to me. 3 alphas from 1 pregnancy. That's not natural. That's not how it's supposed to work. So they tried to fix us. His hand flexed around mine. Tried to make us into something we weren't. Understanding crashed over me. They failed. Spectacularly. His smile was all teeth. Turns out 3 alphas who refuse to be separated are a lot harder to control than 1. Despite everything, I felt my mouth curve. I bet the council loved that. They hated it. Still do. He studied our joined hands. But we stopped caring what they thought a long time ago, and you should too. It's not that simple. It is. His eyes met mine again, intense and unwavering. You're Frost Valley. Last of a bloodline everyone thinks is extinct. That makes you dangerous, Eli. Not defective. Dangerous. I'm one person. You're a symbol. He squeezed my hand once, then released it, standing. And symbols have power. The council knows that. That's why they wanted those kids dead. That's why they tried to break you. I pulled the blanket, tighter, suddenly cold without his touch. What if they were right? What if I really am Barren? Then you're still worth more than they'll ever be. He moved to the door, paused. Get some rest. Morning's going to come fast. Kieran? He glanced back. Thank you. For... I struggled to find words. For telling me. His expression softened, just barely. Don't mention it. Then he left, door clicking shut behind him. And I sat there in the darkness, holding my hand where his had been, feeling the ghost of warmth and wondering if maybe, just maybe, I'd found something I didn't know I'd been searching for. I didn't go back to sleep. Instead, I got up, pulled on the hoodie I'd left on the chair, and padded to the window. The snow had stopped. Dawn was starting to break, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. The forest stretched out below, pristine and untouched. Beautiful. Peaceful. Everything my life hadn't been in. Years, a soft knock made me turn. Come in. Ashton stepped through, carrying 2 mugs. He handed me one without a word. Coffee, hot and black, and exactly what I needed. Couldn't sleep either, I asked. Something like that. He moved to stand beside me at the window, close enough that our shoulders almost touched. Kieran told me about your conversation. Of course he did. He talks too much. He cares too much. Ashton took a sip of his coffee. We all do. You don't know me. We're learning. He glanced at me, something unreadable in those ice blue eyes. And everything we learn makes us want to know more. I turned to face him fully. Why? I'm a mess. I've got trauma baggage that could fill a warehouse. I can't give you heirs. Can't give you anything the council would consider valuable. Good. His mouth curved. We don't give a damn what the council considers valuable. Then what do you want? From me? He set his mug on the windowsill and turned to face me fully, expression serious. The truth? We don't know yet, but we know we're not letting you go. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have right now. He reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away. His fingers brushed my jaw, tilting my face up. You feel it too. This pull, this connection. My breath caught. Biology isn't destiny. No. His thumb traced my cheekbone, gentle and devastating. But it's a start. I should have stepped back, should have put distance between us, but I was so tired of running. What if I'm broken, I whispered. Then we'll be broken together. His eyes searched mine. But I don't think you are. I think you're exactly what you're supposed to be. And what's that? Ours. The words settled over me like a blanket. Heavy, warm, terrifying. I don't know how to be that. Neither do we. His hand dropped, but he didn't step away. But we'll figure it out. We stood there in the growing light, the space between us charged with possibility and fear, and something I didn't have a name for yet. Then Ashton's expression shifted. There's something else you need to know. My stomach dropped. What? The council's calling for a tribunal. His jaw tightened. They want you returned to Crescent Moon, along with the children. Ice flooded my veins. When? 3 days. And if you refuse? They'll declare it an act of war. I closed my eyes. So I'm trapped. No. His voice went hard. steel wrapped in silk. You're protected. There's a difference. How? We're going to the tribunal. He caught my chin again, forcing me to meet his gaze. And we're going to make sure the council understands exactly who they're dealing with. They'll destroy you. Let them try. His smile was razor sharp. We've been waiting for an excuse to remind them why triplet alphas are feared. This is insane. Yes. He leaned in, close enough that I could feel his breath against my lips. But you're worth it. Then he stepped back, grabbed his coffee and headed for the door. Get dressed, he called over his shoulder. Breakfast in 20. We have a war to plan. The door closed, and I stood there, heart racing, wondering what the hell I'd just gotten myself into. I didn't move for a full 30 seconds, just stood there, staring at the door, trying to process the fact that I'd gone from homeless refugee to potential war catalyst in less than 12 hours. My life was a disaster, a beautiful, terrifying disaster. I drained the rest of my coffee, set the mug down harder than necessary, and headed for the closet. If I was going to plan a war over breakfast, I was at least going to be wearing pants that fit. The clothes were still eerily perfect. I grabbed dark jeans and a forest green Henley that was soft enough to make me suspicious about the thread count, got dressed, and was lacing up boots I definitely hadn't packed when someone knocked. Again. If this is Kieran coming back to psychoanalyze my footwear choices, I'm leaving, I called out. The door opened. Callan leaned against the frame, arms crossed, looking unfairly good in a simple black t-shirt and jeans. Just me, and I don't care about your shoes. Good, because I have opinions about people who barge into occupied rooms. His mouth twitched. Noted. You ready? For breakfast or warfare? Both, probably. I grabbed the empty coffee mug and followed him into the hallway. Morning light streamed through tall windows, turning everything warm and golden. It should have felt peaceful. It didn't. So, I said as we walked, how often does the council threaten you with war? Often. Enough that we have a protocol? He glanced at me. Don't worry, we're good at it. That's somehow not comforting. You keep saying that because you keep saying things that aren't comforting. We descended the curved staircase, and I caught the scent of food. Real food. Bacon. Fresh bread. Something sweet and cinnamon-laced that made my stomach growl. Ashton told you about the tribunal, Callan said quietly. He did. And I'm trying very hard not to panic. You're doing a good job. I shot him a look. How can you tell? You're still walking, still making jokes. He pushed open a set of double doors. That's more than most people manage. The dining room was ridiculous. Long table, high ceilings, chandelier that probably cost more than my entire childhood. But what caught my attention was the wall of windows overlooking the forest, and beyond it, a cluster of smaller buildings. What's that? I pointed. Guest houses, medical center, school. Callan gestured to the table. Sit. I'll get you a plate. I can get my own. Sit, Eli. The command in his voice made me bristle. I'm not a child. No, you're a guest who's had a hell of a night and needs to eat. His expression softened. Let someone take care of you for 5 minutes. Please? The please did it. I sat. He disappeared through another door, leaving me alone with my thoughts and an excellent view of what I was starting to realize was less of a pack house and more of a small compound. How many people lived here? 73. I jumped, spinning around. Wyatt stood in the doorway, smiling like he'd just read my mind. Sorry, didn't mean to startle you. Do you guys have a schedule for sneaking up on me, or is it just a hobby? Little bit of both. He moved to sit across from me, setting down his own plate. Scrambled eggs, toast, fruit that looked fresh enough to be offensive. You were wondering about the pack size. How did you... You were staring at the buildings with that look people get when they're doing math. He speared a strawberry. We've got 73 full-time residents, another 20 or so who come and go for work. And as of last night, 20 new kids who are currently being spoiled by our head teacher. My chest tightened. They're really okay. Better than okay. His smile widened. 3 of them are already arguing about who gets the top bunk in the new dorm wing. Relief flooded through me so fast I had to blink back the sting in my eyes. Thank you. You already said that. I'm saying it again. Wyatt's expression went soft. You saved them, Eli. We're just giving them a place to be safe. That's not a small thing. Neither is what you did. Before I could respond, Callan returned with a plate piled high with food and set it in front of me. Bacon, eggs, hash browns, toast. Enough to feed 3 people. I stared at it. Are you trying to fatten me up? Yes, Callan said without hesitation. Wyatt laughed. He thinks you're too skinny. I'm fine. You're underfed. Callan dropped into the chair beside me, close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating off him. Eat. I wanted to argue, but the food smelled incredible, and my stomach was staging a revolt. So I ate, and it was perfect, rich, warm, the kind of breakfast that felt like a hug. Good? Wyatt asked, amusement dancing in his eyes. I swallowed. Shut up. That's a yes. Callan's mouth curved. Not quite a smile, but close. Told you he'd like it. I never said I didn't like it. You're eating like someone's going to take it away. Old habit. The words came out before I could stop them. The amusement faded from Wyatt's face. Callan went very still beside me. When's the last time you had a real meal? Wyatt asked quietly. I focused on my eggs. I ate yesterday. That's not what I asked. Drop it. Eli, I said drop it. I set down my fork, appetite suddenly gone. I'm fine. I've always been fine. Silence settled over the table. Then Callan spoke, voice low. No one who's fine says they're fine that many times. I turned to glare at him. You don't know me. Then let us. He held my gaze steady and unflinching. Stop pushing us away and let us in. Why do you care so much? Because you're pack. I'm not. You are. Wyatt leaned forward, eyes intent. The moment you crossed that border, you became ours, whether you accept it or not. My pulse hammered. That's not how it works. It is for us. Callan's hand found mine under the table, warm and grounding. We don't do things. Halfway, Eli, when we claim someone, we mean it. You don't claim people. We just did. I pulled my hand away, standing abruptly. This is insane. You can't just decide someone belongs to you because you feel like it. Why not? Kieran's voice came from the doorway. He leaned against the frame, arms crossed, gold eyes glinting. You decided 20 kids belonged under your protection without asking permission? That's different. Is it? I opened my mouth, closed it. Damn him. Ashton appeared behind Kieran, looking annoyingly composed in dark slacks and a button-down. He has a point. Of course you'd say that, I muttered, because it's true. Ashton moved into the room and suddenly I was surrounded. 4 alphas, all looking at me like I was something precious and breakable. You saw something wrong and fixed it. That's what Pac does. I'm not Pac. You keep saying that. Wyatt stood, circling around the table. But your scent says otherwise. My scent doesn't get a vote. Actually, Kieran pushed off the doorframe. It does. Biology doesn't lie, remember? I backed up a step. Stop. They did. All 4 of them. Instantly. But they didn't retreat. Just waited, watching me with a patience that felt more dangerous than aggression. Why? The word came out broken. Why do you want this? Why do you want me? Because you're brave, Wyatt said simply. Because you're smart, Callan added. Because you don't back down, from Kieran. Ashton was the last to speak, and his voice was quiet, certain. Because you're ours, and we protect what's ours. Something cracked in my chest. I can't give you heirs, I whispered. Can't give you the future you're supposed to want. Then we'll build a different future. Ashton took a step closer. One where 20 kids who were supposed to hope. So, I said, voice rough, about this tribunal. Ashton's smile turned predatory. Ready to make the council regret ever underestimating you. Absolutely. Good. He gestured to the table. Then sit, eat, because we've got 3 days to prepare, and you're going to need your strength. I sat, picked up my fork, and for the first time in longer than I could remember, I ate breakfast surrounded by people who wanted me there. Not because I was useful, not because I could give them something, but because I was enough exactly as I was. The food tasted better the second time around. I was 3 bites into my second piece of toast when the doors burst open. A woman strode in, all sharp edges and expensive perfume. Designer suit, heels that clicked against hardwood like gunshots. Her hair was pulled into a severe bun, and her eyes swept over me with the kind of assessment that made my spine straighten involuntarily. She stopped at the head of the table and crossed her arms. So this is the Omega causing all the trouble. The room temperature dropped 10 degrees. Ashton stood slowly. Grandmother, you weren't expected until tonight. Grandmother, oh hell. Plans changed. Her eyes never left me. The council's already spreading rumors. Thought I'd see for myself what's worth starting a war over. I set down my toast carefully and met her gaze. Eli Parker, nice to meet you. Margaret Gray, and I doubt that. She moved closer, circling the table like a shark. Crescent Moon Castoff, failed Omega, Frost Valley refugee with delusions of heroism. Each word landed like a slap. That's enough. Kieran's voice went cold. Is it? Margaret stopped beside my chair, looking down at me. The council's calling for your head, boy. Literally. And my grandsons think protecting you is worth risking everything we've built. I didn't ask them to protect me. No, you just dragged them into your mess and expected them to clean it up. Her smile was razor sharp. Tell me, what makes you so special? What could you possibly offer that's worth pack blood? The words I'd spent my whole life believing sat on my tongue. Nothing. I'm worth nothing. But then I felt it. Callan's hand found mine under the table. Warm. Steady. Wyatt shifted closer, his knee pressing against mine. Ashton's scent wrapped around me, protective and fierce. And Kieran's gold eyes met mine across the table, silently daring me to back down. I stood, met Margaret's cold gaze without flinching. I offer exactly what I am. Someone who doesn't let kids die because it's inconvenient. Someone who sees a problem and fixes it instead of hiding behind protocol. I took a step closer. And yeah, maybe I'm broken. Maybe I can't give them the perfect pack future. But at least I'm not the kind of person who measures worth by bloodline and breeding potential. Silence. Margaret's expression didn't change. Then she smiled. Real, genuine, almost proud. Good. She turned to Ashton. I like him. I blinked. What? You passed. She moved back toward the door, heels clicking. Anyone who crumbles under pressure isn't worth protecting. But you've got spine. She paused at the threshold. Don't waste it. Then she was gone. I stared at the empty doorway. What just happened? She tested you. Wyatt's grin was infectious. And you destroyed it. That was a test? Everything's a test with her, Kieran said, looking annoyingly pleased. But you handled it perfectly. I told your grandmother off. Exactly. Ashton squeezed my shoulder. She respects strength. You showed her you had it. I dropped back into my chair, pulse still racing. Your family's exhausting. Wait until you meet the cousins, Callan muttered. There are cousins? 17 of them. Oh my God, Wyatt laughed. Don't worry, most of them are tolerable. That's not reassuring. Before anyone could respond, another knock interrupted. This one's softer, hesitant. A young woman peeked around the door. Alpha Ashton, sorry to interrupt, but there's a call from Crescent Moon. The warmth evaporated from the room. Ashton's expression went cold. Professional. Put it through to my office. She nodded and disappeared. Stay here, Ashton said, looking at me. Finish eating. We'll handle this. Like hell, I stood. If it's about me, I'm hearing it. Eli, no. I crossed my arms. You said we're doing this together. That includes the ugly parts. The brothers exchanged looks. Then Kieran smiled, sharp and dangerous. He's right. Of course I am. I grabbed my coffee mug. Let's go ruin someone's day. Ashton's office was all dark wood and leather chairs, with a massive desk that looked like it had witnessed decades of pack business. He settled behind it, Kieran and Wyatt flanking him. Callan guided me to a chair off to the side, staying close. Ashton pressed a button on the phone. This is Gray. The voice that came through made my blood run cold. Ashton, always a pleasure. Dominic, My hands clenched around the mug hard enough to hurt. Ashford. Ashton's tone was glacier. I assume this isn't a social call. Hardly. Papers rustled in the background. I'm calling about property that was stolen from Crescent Moon 2 nights ago. Property that was tracked to your territory. Be specific. 20 orphans and 1 worthless Omega. Dominic's voice dripped contempt. I want them returned, immediately. Ashton leaned back in his chair, the picture of calm. And if I refuse? Then the council will consider it an act of aggression, possibly war. Interesting. Ashton's eyes flicked to me. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you authorized the murder of 20 children and are upset someone interfered. Silence. Then carefully. I don't know what lies Parker's been telling you. I have the memo, Dominic. My voice came out stronger than I felt. Signed by you, dated, with 20 names listed for extinction protocol. More silence. When Dominic spoke again, his voice was tight. Eli, I should have known you'd run to another pack the second things didn't go your way. Things didn't go my way? I stood, moving closer to the desk. You threw me away like garbage. You were going to let those kids die. Don't pretend this is about me being dramatic. You're barren, unstable. The council ordered a genocide. Ashton's voice cut like steel. And you signed off on it. That makes you complicit. You don't understand the politics. I understand perfectly. Ashton's smile was all teeth. You're calling to threaten us because you know what we have. Proof, testimony, witnesses. Those children are property of Crescent Moon. Those children, Kieran interrupted, voice deadly quiet, are under Obsidian Ridge protection, which means if you want them, you'll have to go through us. This is insane. Dominic's composure cracked. You're risking everything for 1 failed Omega and a bunch of useless pups? Yes, Wyatt said simply. We are. Then you're fools. Maybe. Ashton leaned forward. But we're fools with evidence. Evidence we're prepared to present at the tribunal in 3 days, along with testimony from every surviving Frost Valley bloodline member. My breath caught. Dominic's too, apparently. You wouldn't. Try us. The silence stretched, brittle, and looked. But all I could hear was Dominic's voice. Cold. Dismissive. Exactly like it had been the night he'd rejected me. Worthless, failed, broken. Eli. Wyatt moved in front of me, blocking out everything else. Look at me. I did. His green eyes were steady, kind, real. You're not what he says you are. You never were. You don't know that. Yes, I do. He cupped my face with both hands. Because I see you. We all do. And what we see is someone brave enough to risk everything for people who couldn't fight for themselves. That's not special. It is to us. His thumb brushed my cheekbone, and I realized I was crying. When had I started crying? I'm sorry, I choked out. I'm sorry I dragged you into this. Don't apologize. Kieran appeared beside Wyatt. We chose this. We choose you. Why? Because you're worth choosing, Ashton said from behind the desk. Even if you don't, believe it yet. The words broke something open inside my chest. All the fear, the doubt, the certainty that I'd ruin everything I touched. It spilled out in ugly, gasping sobs that I couldn't control. And they let me. Wyatt pulled me into his chest, one hand in my hair, the other wrapped around my back. Kieran pressed against my side, solid and warm. Callan's hand never left my shoulder, and Ashton moved around the desk, completing the circle. They held me while I fell apart. Held me while I cried for the kid who'd been told he was defective, for the Omega who'd believed his worth was tied to biology, for every moment I'd spent trying to prove I deserved to exist, and when the tears finally stopped, when I could breathe again, they were still there. Better? Wyatt murmured against my hair. No. I pulled back, wiping my face. But I will be. His smile was soft, proud. Yeah, you will. Ashton's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, expression darkening. We have a problem. Of course we did. What now? He turned the phone so I could see the message. Council emergency session called. Tribunal moved to tomorrow. Attendance mandatory. Non-compliance means forfeiture. My stomach dropped. They're rushing it because they're scared. Kieran's smile was vicious. Good. We're not ready. Yes, Ashton said quietly. We are. He looked at each of his brothers, some silent conversation passing between them. Then he turned to me. There's one more thing you need to know about why the council wants you specifically. Dread coiled in my gut. What? The Frost Valley bloodline wasn't just rare. His eyes held mine. It was royal. The world tilted. What? Your ancestors were the original pack founders. Before the council, before the territories were divided. He moved closer. That's why they want you dead, Eli. Not because you're Barren. Because if anyone finds out who you really are, everything they've built falls apart. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. I'm not. I can't be. You are. Wyatt's hand found mine. And tomorrow we're going to make sure everyone knows it. Royal. The word felt foreign in my mouth. Wrong. Like wearing someone else's skin. That's impossible. My mother never said anything about because she was protecting you. Ashton moved to a bookshelf and pulled out a leather-bound journal, worn at the edges. This belonged to your grandmother, Eleanor Frost, last recognized alpha of the Frost Valley line before the council declared the territory abandoned. He set it on the desk between us. I stared at it like it might bite. Where did you get that? She gave it to my father, 23 years ago, right before she disappeared. His expression softened. She knew the council was coming for her. Knew what they'd do to anyone who carried the bloodline. So she hid the proof and ran. My hands trembled as I reached for the journal. The leather was cool under my fingers. The pages yellowed with age. I opened it to a random entry, my grandmother's handwriting elegant and precise. They're calling it a rogue attack, covering their tracks with lies and ash. But I know the truth. The council ordered this, ordered us erased because we refused to bow to their new world order. Because we remembered what pacts were before territories and politics, before power became more important than people. My throat closed. Keep reading, Wyatt said quietly. I turned the page. I have a daughter, Margaret, 8 years old and already showing signs of alpha presentation. I've hidden her with humans in Boston, changed her name, buried every record that could connect her to Frost Valley. It's the only way she survives. Margaret, my voice cracked. My mother's name was Margaret. She changed it when she came of age, Callan said. Became Mary, married a human, had you, and never told me. Anger flared hot in my chest. She let me think I was defective. Let the council run their tests. Let them. She was trying to keep you alive. Kieran's voice cut through my spiral. If anyone connected you to Eleanor, to the royal line, you'd have been dead before your first heat. I slammed the journal shut. So what? I'm supposed to be grateful she lied to me my entire life? No. Ashton moved around the desk. You're supposed to understand why she did it, and then you're supposed to decide what you want to do about it. What I want, I laughed, sharp and bitter. What I want is to not be a political pawn. What I want is for those kids to be safe. What I want is us? Wyatt's question hit me like a physical blow. I looked at him, at all of them. 4 alphas who'd chosen to stand with me when they had every reason to walk away. I don't know, I whispered. I don't know what I want anymore. That's okay. He stepped closer, careful, gentle. You don't have to know everything right now. The tribunal's tomorrow. Then we have tonight. His hand found mine, threading our fingers together, to figure out what we're fighting for. I already know what I'm fighting for. My eyes burned. Those kids, the truth, justice. And after, Kieran moved to my other side. After the tribunal, after the council's forced to acknowledge what they did, what then? I don't know. Liar. I pulled away from Wyatt, putting space between us. Fine. You want the truth? I want to run. I want to take those kids and disappear somewhere the council can't find us. Somewhere I don't have to be Eleanor's grandson, or the last Frost heir, or anything except just Eli. You can't run from this. Ashton's voice was quiet. Certain. Not anymore. Watch me. Eli. No. I spun to face him. You don't get to tell me what I can and can't do. You don't get to decide my future just because you found some old journal and decided I'm important. That's not what this is, isn't it? My voice rose. You want me here because I'm useful, because having the last frost heir gives you leverage against the council. But what happens when I'm not useful anymore? When the politics are over and I'm just some barren omega who can't give you the pack future you deserve? The words hung in the air like poison. Ashton's expression went carefully blank. Is that really what you think? I don't know what to think. My chest felt too tight. Everything's moving too fast. Yesterday I was nobody. Today I'm royalty. Tomorrow I'm supposed to face down the council and you're not facing them alone. That's not the point. Then what is? Kieran's patience finally cracked. What are you so afraid of, Eli? That you'll realize I'm not worth it. The confession ripped out of me. That one day you'll wake up and see what everyone else sees. Someone broken, someone not good enough, someone who should have been culled with the rest of the bloodline. Silence, complete and suffocating. Then Callan spoke, voice rough. Come with me. What? Come. With me. He was already moving toward the door. Now. I looked at the others. Ashton nodded. Wyatt's expression was unreadable. Kieran just gestured for me to follow. So I did. Callan led me through hallways I hadn't seen before, down a flight of stairs, through a door that opened onto a covered walkway. Snow had started falling again, light and lazy, dusting the path ahead. We walked in silence until we reached one of the smaller buildings I'd seen from the dining room. He opened the door. Inside was chaos, beautiful, joyful chaos. 20 kids running, laughing, playing. Art supplies scattered across tables. Books stacked on shelves. A woman with kind eyes and graying hair, directing traffic while somehow managing to look completely calm. And there, in the center of it all, was Rosie. She saw me and lit up like sunrise. Eli! She ran, crashing into my legs hard enough to make me stumble. I caught her automatically, lifting her up, and she wrapped her arms around my neck in a death grip. You're here, she breathed. They said you were coming, but I didn't believe them. My throat closed. Yeah, I'm here. Are you staying? I looked at Callan over her head. He watched me steadily, expression neutral. I don't know, sweetheart, but you have to stay. She pulled back to look at me, her eyes wide and earnest. Who's going to read me stories at bedtime? I'm sure someone else. I want you. 3 words. Simple, honest, devastating. Rosie, I started, voice cracking. You saved us. Her small hands cupped my face. You didn't have to, but you did. You're a hero, Eli. I'm not. Yes, you are. She pressed her forehead to mine. And heroes don't run away. Out of the mouths of children. I closed my eyes, holding her close, breathing in the scent of crayons and strawberry shampoo, an innocence I'd somehow managed to protect. Worth it. They were worth it, all of them, even if I wasn't sure I was. Okay, I whispered. Okay, I'll stay. She squeezed me tighter. Promise? Promise. When I set her down, she ran back to the other kids, already yelling about how Eli was staying forever, and everyone should be excited. I turned to Callan. That was manipulative. That was necessary. He moved closer. You needed to remember why you did this, what you're fighting for. I know what I'm fighting for. Do you? His hand found my jaw, tilting my face up. Because from where I'm standing, you're so busy worrying about being enough that you forgot you already are. Callan, you saved 20 lives, Eli. 20 kids who are alive right now because you were brave enough to act when no one else would. His eyes searched mine. That's not broken. That's not defective. That's strength. Strength doesn't mean I'm worth. If you finish that sentence, I'm going to kiss you. My brain short-circuited. What? You heard me. His thumb brushed my lower lip. One more self-deprecating word and I'm done playing nice. That's not fair. Neither is watching you tear yourself apart over lies the council planted in your head. He leaned closer, close enough that I could feel his breath. So here's the truth, Eli. You're worth everything. The fight, the risk, the war, all of it. You don't know that. Then let me prove it. And he kissed me, soft, careful, like I was something precious he was afraid of breaking. I froze for half a second. Then I kissed him back, my hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, and he made a sound low in his throat that sent heat cascading through my entire body. His arms wrapped around me, solid and sure, and for the first time in my life, I felt safe. Not protected. Safe. Like I could break and he'd help me put the pieces back together. Like I didn't have to be perfect to be wanted. When we finally pulled apart, both breathless, he rested his forehead against mine. Believe me now? I don't know. My voice came out shaky. Might need more convincing. He smiled against my lips. I can work with that. Behind us, someone cleared their throat. We broke apart to find Ashton, Wyatt, and Kieran standing in the doorway, varying degrees of amusement on their faces. So, Wyatt said, grin wide. We interrupting something? My face went nuclear. How long have you been standing there? Long enough? Kieran's smile was sharp. Nice to see you finally figured it out. Figured what out? That you belong here. Ashton moved into the room, the other two following. With us, with them. He gestured to the kids. With your pack. The words settled over me. Pack. Not a burden. Not an obligation. A choice. I'm still terrified, I admitted. Good. Wyatt squeezed my shoulder. Means you're paying attention. And tomorrow? Tomorrow, Ashton said quietly, we show the council exactly who they've been trying to erase, and why that was the biggest mistake they ever made. I looked at each of them. These four alphas who'd taken one look at my mess and decided it was worth diving into. Then I looked at the kids. 20 heartbeats I'd fought for. 20 reasons to be brave. Okay. I squared my shoulders. Let's do this. Kieran's smile turned feral. Now you're talking. Wyatt handed me a folder thick enough to be a weapon. What's this? Everything. He tapped the cover. Birth records, land deeds, council meeting minutes from before the massacre. Every piece of proof we've been collecting for the past 5 years. I stared at it. 5 years? We knew something was wrong. Ashton's expression was grim. We just didn't have witnesses, or someone brave enough to stand up and tell the truth. Until now, Kieran added, eyes glinting. The weight of it settled over me. Not just the folder, but everything it represented. Lives lost, lies perpetuated, a genocide covered up with bureaucracy and fear. What if they don't listen? My voice was smaller than I wanted. What if we show them all of this, and they still don't care? Then we make them care. Callan's hand found the small of my back, steady and grounding. But you have to believe it first, Eli. Believe you have the right to stand in that room and demand justice. I looked down at the folder, at my grandmother's journal still clutched in my other hand. Eleanor Frost, Alpha, Leader, Royal, my blood. Okay, I met their eyes one by one. Teach me everything I need to know. They spent the next hours drilling me. Ashton walked me through council protocols, the hierarchy, who would be sympathetic and who would try to tear me apart. Wyatt coached me on body language, on how to project confidence even when I felt like crumbling. Kieran played devil's advocate, throwing every cruel question and accusation at me until I could answer without flinching. And Callan just stayed close, a constant presence that kept me from spiraling. By the time the sun started setting, painting the sky in shades of amber and rose, I was exhausted, but I was ready. You're going to be incredible, Wyatt said, reading something in my expression. I'm going to throw up. That's normal. Is it though? Kieran laughed. You think we weren't terrified the first time we faced the council? Ashton almost passed out. I did not. You absolutely did. Wyatt grinned. You were 14 and trying to argue that we shouldn't be separated. You got halfway through your speech and just stopped breathing. A tiny smile tugged at my mouth, despite everything. What happened? Kieran punched a council member in the face, Callan said dryly. He deserved it, Kieran defended. He called us abominations. And that helped? No, but it felt good. I laughed. Actual, real laughter that loosened the knot in my chest. They smiled, something warm and satisfied in their expressions. There he is, Ashton said softly. Who? The Omega who told my grandmother off this morning. The one who's brave enough to face down the council tomorrow. He moved closer, cupping my jaw. Don't lose him in the fear. I'll try. That's all we ask. He leaned in, pressing a kiss to my forehead. Tender, protective. When he pulled back, Wyatt was there, stealing a quick kiss that tasted like hope. Then Kieran, his kiss fiercer, promising violence on my behalf. And finally Callan, whose kiss felt like coming home. When they released me, I was steady again, centered. We should get some rest, Ashton said. Tribunal starts at dawn. Dawn, 6 hours away. I don't think I can sleep. Then we'll stay with you. Wyatt's hand found mine. Whatever you need. What I needed was to believe this was real, that I wasn't about to wake up alone in that basement apartment Dominic had offered, with nothing but rejection and broken dreams. Stay, I whispered. Please. Always? We ended up in the library, a smaller room with floor-to-ceiling, bookshelves, a fireplace, crackling warmth, and oversized chairs that could fit 2 people if they didn't mind being close, which apparently we didn't. I settled between Wyatt and Callan on the sofa, Ashton in the chair across from us, Kieran sprawled on the floor with his back against Ashton's legs. It should have felt crowded. It felt perfect. Tell me something, I said into the comfortable silence. Something real. Something that isn't about politics or bloodlines or tribunals. Like what? Wyatt's fingers traced lazy patterns on my arm. Like, why did you really help me? The real reason. They were quiet for a moment. Then Callan spoke, voice low. Because when you called that night, you didn't beg. You didn't offer anything in return. You just asked for help, and that's... He paused, searching for words. That's rare. Most people come to us wanting something, Ashton added. Power, protection, leverage. But you just wanted to save kids. No ulterior motive, no angle. It reminded us why we do this. Kieran looked up at me. Why we fight. You were everything the council isn't, and we couldn't let that go. Also, Wyatt said, grin audible in his voice, you're stupidly attractive when you're being self-sacrificing. I choked. What? He's not wrong. Kieran's smile was pure mischief. You dragging 20 kids through a blizzard? That's extremely hot. You're all insane. Probably, Ashton agreed. But you're stuck with us now. Lucky me. Lucky us, Callan corrected quietly. The fire popped and crackled. Outside, snow continued falling, soft and steady. And for the first time in my life, I felt like maybe, possibly, I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Eli? Wyatt's voice was careful. Can I ask you something? Yeah. After tomorrow, after the tribunal, what do you want? I thought. About it. Really thought about it. I want those kids to grow up safe. I want the council to face consequences. I swallowed hard. I want to stop running. And us? Kieran asked. What do you want with us? The question hung in the air, heavy with possibility. I want to stay. The words felt like confession and prayer. I want to wake up here and have breakfast and argue with Kieran and let Callan cook for me and listen to Wyatt's terrible jokes and watch Ashton try to pretend he's not amused by all of it. I took a shaky breath. I want to belong somewhere, to someone, to you. Silence. Then Ashton stood, crossed to the sofa, and knelt in front of me. Then stay. It's not that simple. Yes, he said quietly. It is. Stay. Build a life here. Let us be your pack, your family, your... He paused, something vulnerable flickering across his face. Your mates, if you'll have us. My heart stopped. Mates? All 4 of us. Wyatt's arm tightened around me. If you want. That's not... You can't just... Why not? Kieran sat up. You think there's a rule that says we can't? The council can go to hell, Callan finished. We don't care what they think. We care what you think. I looked at each of them, these four alphas who'd taken my chaos and called it strength. I'm still Barren, I whispered. I can't give you pups. We have 20, Wyatt pointed out. That's not the same. It is to us. Ashton's hand covered mine. Family isn't biology, Eli. It's choice. And we're choosing you. Why? Because you chose us first. His eyes held mine. You trusted us with the most important thing in your world. Those kids. Your truth. Your fear. And we're not letting that go. Tears burned behind my eyes. What if I ruin this? Then we'll fix it. Kieran moved to kneel beside Ashton. Together. What if the council? Let us worry about the council. Callan's voice was steel-wrapped in silk. You worry about saying yes. I looked at them. Really looked. 4 alphas, 4 hearts, 4 chances at something I'd never thought I'd have. Love. Real. Messy. Imperfect. Mine. Yes. The word came out broken. God, yes. They smiled, all 4 of them, like I'd just given them the world. Maybe I had. Ashton leaned in, kissing me slow and deep, pouring everything we'd been dancing around into it. When he pulled back, Wyatt was there, then Kieran, then Callan. Each kiss different, each one perfect. So, I said when I could breathe again, how does this work exactly, 4 mates? Carefully, Callan deadpanned. With lots of communication, Wyatt added. And separate bathrooms, Kieran muttered. Ashton just smiled. We'll figure it out. Together. Together. I liked the sound of that. Dawn came too fast and not fast enough. I stood in front of the mirror in my room, adjusting the collar of the shirt Ashton had left for me. Dark gray, simple, professional. I looked like someone who belonged in a council chamber. The thought terrified me. A knock. Come in. All 4 of them filed in, dressed in similar dark clothes, looking like they were about to walk into battle, which I suppose they were. Ready? Ashton asked. No. Good answer. He handed me my grandmother's journal. Remember, you're not asking for permission. You're demanding justice. And if they say no, they won't. But if they do, Kieran's smile was all teeth, then things get fun. Despite everything, I laughed. Your definition of fun is terrifying. You'll get used to it. Callan stepped forward, pressing something small and cool into my palm. I looked down. A ring. Silver with an intricate knot. Pattern that reminded me of frost on glass. It was Eleanor's, he said quietly. Your grandmother's. We've been holding on to it, waiting. For what? For you. My throat closed. I slipped it on my right hand, and it fit perfectly, like it had been waiting for me too. Thank you. Thank us later. Wyatt grabbed my hand. After we make history. The council chamber was everything I'd imagined and worse. High ceilings, dark wood, a semicircle of seats occupied by stone-faced alphas and betas who looked at me like I was a bug they were deciding whether to squash. Dominic sat 3 seats from the end, jaw tight, eyes burning with barely contained rage. I forced myself to meet his gaze without flinching. He looked away first. Small victory. The council chairman, a gray-haired alpha named Morrison, banged his gavel. We are here to address the unlawful removal of Crescent Moon property by Obsidian Ridge Pack. Alpha Ashford, present your case. Dominic stood, smooth and practiced. 2 nights ago, Eli Parker, a former pack member, stole 20 orphan minors from Crescent Moon territory and fled to Obsidian Ridge. We're requesting their immediate return and reparations for... Objection. Ashton's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. The council will hear both sides before making demands. Morrison's eyes narrowed. Alpha Gray, you'll have your turn. We'll have it now. Ashton stood, and somehow the entire room shifted. Because what Alpha Ashford is calling theft, we call rescue, and we have proof. He nodded to me. This was it. I stood on shaking legs, clutching my grandmother's journal and the folder of evidence. Every eye in the room turned to me. My name is Elias Frost Parker, I said, voice stronger than I felt. And I'm the last surviving heir of the Frost Valley royal line. The room erupted. Morrison's gavel banged repeatedly. Order! Order! But I wasn't finished. 23 years ago, the council authorized the massacre of Frost Valley Pack. They called it a rogue attack, but it wasn't. I held up the journal. This belonged to Alpha Eleanor Frost, my grandmother, and it documents everything. The threats, the demands for submission, the extinction order. This is preposterous, someone shouted. Is it? I turned to face them. Because 2 nights ago, I found another extinction order for 20 children signed by Alpha Ashford and approved by this council. I threw the memo onto the center table. Silence, then chaos. Voices overlapping, shouting, demanding to see the evidence. Morrison's gavel slamming uselessly. And through it all, Dominic's face going pale. The memo is a fake, he tried. Parker is unstable, bitter about being rejected. I have the original, Ashton cut in, along with DNA evidence connecting every one of those children to Frost Valley bloodline. Evidence that proves what the council has been trying to hide for over 2 decades. Morrison finally got control back. These are serious accusations. They're truth. I stepped forward. And I'm not asking for your permission to tell it. I'm telling you how this ends. Those children stay under Obsidian Ridge protection. The Frost Valley massacre is investigated, and anyone involved faces consequences. You can't make demands of this council, boy, someone snarled. He's not. Kieran stood, followed by Wyatt and Callan. We are. The 3 of them moved to flank Ashton, a wall of alpha power that made even the council sit back. The last time someone tried to erase a royal bloodline, Ashton said quietly, it took 23 years for the truth to surface. Imagine what happens when we make sure it surfaces tomorrow, on every news channel, every social media platform, every packed territory in North America. Morrison's face went ashen. You wouldn't. Try us. The silence that followed was deafening. Then slowly Morrison looked at me. Really looked. You're truly Eleanor's grandson? Yes. And you have proof? I held up the journal. Every word. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he sighed, suddenly looking decades older. We made mistakes 23 years ago. Mistakes born of fear and politics and the belief that we knew better. Mistakes? My voice shook. You murdered an entire pack. Yes, he met my eyes. We did, and we've been trying to bury it ever since. He looked at Dominic, including authorizing culls we should never have approved. Dominic stood abruptly. You're throwing me to the wolves? You signed the order, Morrison said coldly. You knew what you were authorizing. That's on you. The council approved under false pretenses. Morrison's expression hardened. You told us the children were orphans with no bloodline, not royal heirs. They're the same thing. No, I said quietly. They're not, and you know it. Dominic's eyes found mine. For a moment I saw something that might have been regret. Then it was gone, replaced by cold fury. You'll regret this, Eli. No, I said. I really won't. Morrison banged his gavel. This council recognizes Elias Frost Parker as rightful heir to Frost Valley territory. The children remain under Obsidian Ridge protection, pending formal adoption proceedings. And Alpha Dominic Ashford is hereby stripped of rank pending investigation into his role in the attempted cull. Dominic went rigid. You can't. We just did. Remove him. 2 enforcers moved forward. Dominic struggled, shouting threats and curses, but they dragged him out. The doors slammed shut, and I stood there shaking, hardly believing what had just happened. We'd won. Actually won. Morrison looked at me, something almost like respect in his eyes. The council owes you an apology, Alpha Frost, one that's 23 years overdue. Alpha Frost. The title settled over me like a mantle. Heavy. Terrifying. Right. I'm not an alpha, I said quietly. No. His mouth curved slightly. But you are royal, and that's enough. He dismissed the council, and suddenly it was just us. Me and my mates. Our mates. The thought made me dizzy. Holy shit, I breathed. We actually did it. You did it. Ashton pulled me into his arms. You were incredible. I was terrified. Same thing. Wyatt crashed into us, wrapping his arms around both of us. Then Kieran and Callan, until we were a tangle of limbs and laughter and relief so sharp it hurt. So, Kieran said into my hair, what now? I pulled back enough to look at them. At these four alphas who'd fought for me when no one else would. Now, I said, we go home. Home. The word felt different now. Not a place, not a building, but this. Them. Us. We walked out of the council chamber together, and I didn't look back. 3 weeks later, I stood in the same library where they'd asked me to stay. But this time I was wearing formal robes, traditional mating ceremony clothes that Wyatt had insisted made me look like a prince. I felt ridiculous and happy, so stupidly happy I could barely stand it. Ready? Callan asked from the doorway. I turned and my breath caught. He was beautiful. They all were, dressed in matching robes, looking at me like I was their entire world. Yeah, I smiled. I'm ready. The ceremony was small, just pack. The kids sitting in the front row, grinning like they'd personally arranged the whole thing. Maybe they had. Margaret Gray officiated, looking pleased in a way that was somehow more terrifying than her disapproval. We are gathered to witness the mating bond between Elias Frost Parker and the Gray brother, she began. A bond built not on convenience or politics, but on choice, on courage, on love. She looked at me. Elias, do you accept these alphas as your mates, your pack, your family? I do. And do you promise to drive them absolutely insane with your stubbornness? I laughed. I do. She turned to them. Ashton, Kieran, Wyatt, Callan, do you accept Elias as your mate, your omega, your heart? We do, they said in unison. And do you promise to love him even when he's being impossible? We do. Good, she smiled. Then by the power vested in me by absolutely no one, I declare you bonded. You may now. She didn't get to finish. Because they were already kissing me, all four of them taking turns, making promises against my lips that I felt all the way to my bones. The pack erupted in cheers. The kids started chanting our names. And somewhere in the chaos and joy and absolute madness, I realized something. I'd spent my whole life being told I wasn't enough. But here, now, surrounded by people who chose me, I finally understood the truth. I'd always been enough. I just needed to find the ones who saw it. That night, after the celebration died down and the kids were in bed, I found myself back in the library with my mates. Our library now, our home. Happy? Ashton asked, pulling me into his lap. Terrified, I admitted. But yeah, happy. Good, he kissed my temple. Because you're stuck with us now. Lucky me. Lucky us, Kieran corrected, sprawling beside us. Wyatt and Callan settled on either side, and we sat there in comfortable silence watching the fire. So, Wyatt said eventually, now that we're officially mated, we should probably talk about the fact that Eli has a superpower. I froze. What? You can't tell me you haven't. Noticed? Noticed what? That you can sense emotions. Callan's hand found mine. Specifically distress in children. That's how you knew about the cull before you found the memo. I opened my mouth, closed it. He was right. I had felt it. That pull. That certainty that something was wrong. I thought I was imagining it. You weren't. Ashton squeezed me gently. That's Frost Valley gift. Empathic connection to pups. Eleanor had it too. So I'm not broken? No, they said together. You're perfect, Wyatt added. Perfectly ours, Kieran agreed. I leaned back into Ashton's chest, letting their warmth surround me, and smiled. For the first time in my life, I believed them. The end. Thanks for watching.